Hello and welcome to my channel. Amongst all these items spread across my table, I have the Super Console X Max. I'm sure you can tell it is that device there, that palm-sized puck. But before we go through all this lot, as this is all included when you buy this product, let me first say thank you to Banggood for sending me this to review. I have dropped a product page link in the description. By the fact we have a couple of controllers and a handset should give you an idea that this is a gaming station, specifically for retro games. So you put on game ROMs. You know the usual stuff, guys, the 8 and 16-bit game ROMs from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. And we also have a controller, like a TV controller. So you know this is going to do a couple of things, guys. So you can play games on it and you can also watch movies. So movies from online sources, streaming videos, or from a NAS. So we'll go through all these bits and pieces later in the video, as there is a lot to cover, but let me just show you the controllers first. So a couple of basic sort of wireless controllers. They're okay, they're kind of lightweight, but they're not terrible. You know, they're fairly responsive. They come with dongles. So the dongles plug into here. There's two USB ports on here. You will need to get your own batteries, guys. There's no batteries included with any of this, so you'll need to pop in this, some AAAs, and also a couple of AAAs as well in the handset as well. So do be prepared when you get this. You will need to supply your own batteries. So let's get on to the cables so we can get them out of the way. We have HDMI cable, standard stuff. We also get this, which I can't use in the UK, but there's you get a choice of EU or US plug, not UK style. Not a massive deal breaker, fortunately, because the cable itself is this. So you can plug it into any USB type charger, which is absolutely fine. And you can see it goes to DC. Also has a switch on here for turning it on and off. Although there's something there's something a little bit, I wouldn't say funky about the switch, but it is a little bit odd because you don't really know which is the on and off position. Because when you click it, it just sounds the same. And it doesn't feel like it's any lower. Normally a switch would like this, a push button switch will feel like it's in a lower position when it's on and then pushed out when it's off, but you don't get that with this switch, so you do need to work it out for yourself. I guess it's not much of a big deal, but you may find that a little bit confusing when you first get it. The included instructions are just on a brief pamphlet, but they are quite practical, and if you're familiar with using EmuELEC and Kodi, then you should be okay. But if you haven't used any of that, some of this may not make too much sense to you. But when I read it, it was kind of clear, a nice bold print, unlike some instructions. So it's not a ton of instructions, but it does get you up and running. And the other thing is there are some online videos as well, YouTube videos, to help you as a guide. So there's a QR code there. So I think it's quite well done. You know, as instructions go for being just a quick printed piece of pamphlets, I found there's enough here to help me, but to be fair, I'm kind of familiar with this sort of stuff. First off, guys, if you've used anything like one of these Ambonic or, you know, these just retro handhelds, then you'll be familiar with the operating systems that get used on here. So that'll be, you know, not too bad. And also if you've used Kodi, then you'll be familiar with how this works as well, because there's 3 different modes. So I'm going to show you just the hardware first. We'll go through this and I'll go through, you know, some of the other specifics, because as I said, there's a few bits you'll need to pick up on here, as there's effectively 3 modes of use of this console. So if we go round, we can see there is a card slot. I'll take it out. It is an SD card. So it comes with a couple of SD cards. You get this 4 gig one here. That one there. And you get this one, which is a 64 gig one. And that's important because there's 2 different operating systems on here. And there's also a different operating system on here. So yeah, it does seem quite complicated, but it'll become clear when you work out which mode you want to run it in. So that's the card slot. One thing I will say, be wary about this card slot though, because if you put it at an angle, you can actually end up pushing this into the console and it'll rattle around. I know because I made that mistake and I had to pull it apart and pull it out. So when you put this card in, make sure it is nice and flat and you wiggle it around to make sure it is firmly in the slots before you push it in. Because yeah, it'd be pretty bad news like I did. First time I took it out, put it back in, and it went into the case since there was a little bit of a gap in there. So that was pretty bad, but you know, it wasn't fatal. We have the power DC in, we have SP DIF, we have AV, HDMI. You have a network cable connection for your internet, or you can just run it by wireless. That's how I was running it. 2 USB sockets, and that's your lot. There's also, which you can't see here, but there is a display there, digital display. That only works when you're running it in Android mode. So I'll go through the basic thing. If you don't have a card in here, it will launch the Android TV operating system, which is stored on the 32 gigabytes of onboard flash memory. When we insert the SD card into the slot, obviously have the device powered off, put the card in there, power it on, it will then launch the operating system, which is on the SD card. We have 2 SD cards as we have different purposes for them. So on the 4 gig one, the smaller one, we have CoreELEC. So that's for running Kodi, sort of video streaming services. And that's why you don't need a lot of space on there, since it's going to be primarily for streaming services. And if we look at the 64 gig one, the reason why that's 64 gig is because this is preloaded with basically thousands of games, thousands of retro games, and also all the emulators for all those retro consoles. It's all on here, plus the operating system. It will just load up and then you just play games. So we'll go through all this in a moment when we get this set up, and you can see all the list of games. And I'll show you the Android TV mode, I'll show you the Kodi mode, and I'll show you the gaming mode. This is the Android TV mode, and I'm using the remote control handset that's included. Something to note is that IR handset only works with Android TV. Also, I found my handset to be unresponsive at times, needing me to press the right, down or OK button more than once to get that action. I swapped over to using the gamepad and found that to be the preferable way of operation for me. The gamepad is equally as effective for menu navigation and was completely responsive. So the takeaway is, I expect it's just my handset is slightly faulty, but hopefully if you buy one of these you will not get the same issue I experienced. Also take note of the display showing the time on the front of the console. That display only shows this information when using Android TV. Android TV offers a specific selection of apps from the Google Play Store suited for this type of set-top box. So an abundance of movie and music apps are available, though one notable absentee is Netflix, that have oddly not deployed an Android TV compatible app. Since we're effectively running a build of Android, games are available too from the Google Play Store, though since we lack a touchscreen, the game selection is restricted to ones that have been updated to be controllable with just a gamepad. Another gaming option is using the Steam Link app to stream PC games over a network. I'm running the Super Console X Max over Wi-Fi and the results were truly impressive. I've never used Steam Link before. It literally takes seconds to set up and I was quite amazed how well this worked. The games were responsive and visually looked really good. All this over Wi-Fi too. I did experience a couple of hiccups with the connection, but mostly it was stable. And considering all I did was install and launch the Steam Link app and ran some games without optimizing any settings, I call that a win. This is CoreELEC running from the 4GB micro SD card. I don't want to spend too much time on this one. It's Kodi, and if you know Kodi, then this will be familiar territory. I just want to show you it working, and it seems to be doing what it should be doing. I was able to download and install a selection of add-ons. Most worked, some didn't. In fact, some add-ons didn't download. But I can't say I know enough about Kodi to know if it's simply that some of these projects have been abandoned by the original developers. It's something you need to experiment with, as it doesn't come with instructions. Now for the main feature of this review, retro gaming running EmuELEC off the included 64GB micro SD. I'm booting this in real time so you can see how long it takes. While we wait for that, check out the front of the console, there's no time shown. Now my cat has lost interest in what I'm doing. For the next 40 seconds, you can watch me scroll through a menu of supported systems. And that does mean there is a selection of games for each of these systems. In total, over 47,000 games packed onto the SD card, spread across these gaming systems. And you are free to add your own ROMs onto the SD card, but with so many games included already, there isn't that much room left, about 700 megabytes of free space. You'll find some of the systems have thousands of titles and some others with just a handful. It's not an equal split. For the rest of this review, you're going to see me randomly sample games from different systems. The emulation of these systems is open source. EmuELEC is a pre-built OS and used by many hardware devices on the market for delivering this type of retro gaming experience. And the hardware itself just needs to be capable of running these emulators and powerful enough to run these games at full speed. And the good news is, from what I've seen so far from my Super Console X Max, it is fully capable for this task. A good test for this is Crazy Taxi on the Dreamcast. The game is running super smooth, no slowdowns. The music is ever so slightly glitchy. That's a limitation of the emulator. These emulators are, solid 99% of the time, but there will be the odd game where it's not 100%, though it doesn't stop this arcade game from being perfectly playable and very enjoyable. Since these retro consoles run a 6:9 screen ratio, there's a neat virtual TV bezel surround for maintaining the authentic aspect ratio rather than stretching the screen. Next we have some Nintendo Game Boy action. This is one of the 1300 Game Boy titles featured in the collection. The PSP has a wide screen, so we no longer have the need for the virtual bezel, and the game is filling my monitor. I think it's time to start wrapping up this review. I tested dozens of games and recorded tons of surplus game sample footage along the way. And the Super Console X Max has performed superbly. It's very much focused with gaming in mind, but it's just as good as a set-top media device. I played movies from my network drive and it worked just great. As a device it has this dual purpose, so you're getting more for your money. And the Steam Link performance was fantastic too. I love the versatility packed into this tiny thing. It's low powered, running off just 5 volts, but plenty powerful. The only letdown for me was the slightly flaky handset. I suppose I could also criticise the gamepads. Otherwise working fine and responsive and generally okay, but I do find the D-pads require a rather firm press. So just a few small improvements that would make it perfect. Nothing major. I do like this console a lot. The Super Console X Max is going to find a home in my living room. I'm going to get a lot of use out of it because I like it, and that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed making it. It's always more fun to review hardware that I'm enjoying, so that was an easy one to do. So thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care and bye bye.